As we were driving through this little village, we spotted a coca patch midway up the mountain there. But we also see this entire burnt section, which apparently was all coca. The government burnt it down, so there's this dark patch, but then right across the way, there's another little patch of coca just grown out in the open.
It's hard to believe the government's claims that cocaine production has decreased, because in the Vrai, you see coca growing everywhere. To illustrate the complex reality of Peru's drug war, just a few miles from where the coca is growing is the local base for Durandro.
We're at a base for one of the divisions of the Peruvian Special Counter-Narcotics Police located in the Vrai. And it's estimated that in this area, there's over 200 clandestine cocaine laboratories and over 70 illegal airstrips to transport cocaine. And on the sign outside their headquarters, it says, "Trabajamos por el Perú y el mundo." We work for Peru and the world. And that's important because what happens in this little valley here has global significance.
Esta unidad está encargada de la zona norte del Brain contra el tráfico ilícito de drogas. La misión que tenemos son operaciones policiales helitransportadas, terrestres y fluviales para poder hacer la interdicción al tráfico ilícito de drogas y los delitos conexos. Estamos poniendo puestos de control en las entradas del Brain, de tal manera que no llegue estos insumos para que puedan producir ellos su coca. En Perú tenemos el ejército, la marina y la fuerza aérea. ¡Cuerpo tierra! Los tres acá en el Brain conforman lo que es el Comando Especial para la lucha contra el terrorismo en el Brain.
So we embedded on a series of interdictions with the Peruvian Special Forces, from ground operations to maritime patrols, looking for drugs on the rivers. And while the authorities have had some success, the Vrai is still largely ungoverned territory. And one of the primary methods for moving drugs out of the region is by air. We joined a special operations platoon on a reconnaissance mission to find one of the hundreds of illegal airstrips throughout the countryside. What we saw blew our minds.
The Durandro Special Operations guys have an intelligence tip about the clandestine airfield. From here, we're going to patrol to where the airstrip's supposed to be.
¿Qué es lo que pasa? Normalmente la fuerza del orden para ubicar la pista clandestina los hace vía aérea. Hasta donde conocemos el último vuelo que ha empezado acá hace más o menos 2 meses.
Fighting drug trafficking in this region is just a game of cat and mouse. You build an illegal airstrip in the jungle, the authorities find it, they disable it, you build it somewhere else. This was a clandestine airstrip for the last 10 years. You can actually see it. If you look down this path right here, you could easily land a small Cessna.
Entonces, en la actualidad las pistas se usan cada 2 meses, 3 meses. Por eso que la frecuencia de vuelo ha bajado, ¿no? La policía ha tomado control, si se quiere decir, en toda esta zona.
This hole, which looks like it was blown up by the Durandro, the counter-narcotics forces, was actually made by the narco-traffickers themselves. So what they do is they come out here and they dig this hole in the middle of the runway so that from aerial photographs and from satellites, it looks like the runway's already been destroyed. But instead what they do is when they want to use it, they come out here, 2 hours, they fill it back in, it's a functional runway, and they land the plane and they smuggle the drugs right out of here. The counter-drug guys just placed the explosives in the hole. The explosives they're using today are a combination of Semtex and good old-fashioned dynamite. The next stage of the process is that they're gonna put the actual blasting caps which detonate the charge. What this guy's doing right now is the most technical part of demolition. He's capping in or connecting the blasting cap to this yellow detonation cord. So right now, these explosives are fully connected to those giant big explosives that are buried underground, and if anything was to set off this charge, we'd all be blown the fuck up. So he just lit the time fuse right here. It's burning. Now we have 5 minutes until this thing explodes. You can see the fire traveling down the explosion right here. As soon as this burns to the end of the white and hits this yellow, that's when this thing detonates. 5 minutes, we're out of here. Okay, everyone down. I'm standing in the crater from the middle of the runway from the explosive charge they just detonated, and it's about 15 feet wide and about 8 to 10 feet deep, and there's 4 of these giant craters down the length of the runway, rendering it inoperable for a flight. The problem is, it took us about 2.5 hours to set up the explosive charges here. It'd probably take a couple of narco traffickers and a couple of farmers about an hour to fill in these holes and use this runway again.
The interdiction strategies, checkpoints, and blowing up runways are aimed directly at the narco traffickers. But another part of the strategy is to eradicate the actual coca leaf from growing. These efforts have enraged local farmers. We met up with a local cocalero, or coca farmer, to talk about why this strategy has also had limited success in the VRI.
Here in the VRI, what do you think about the government's operations against coca growing?
Selva Central ya la mayoría siembran coca ya, por break, por ¿cómo se llama? Por pichar y por atalayes son cocahualeros, ¿no?
Sí.
El gobierno es mentira ya que va a decir, no, la coca va a desaparecer, que no vamos a sembrar en la selva. No, la coca nosotros normal vamos a ir con la coca. La coca nunca se va a olvidar ya. Es difícil que se va a olvidar. Cuando ustedes tengan el gobierno, ya no tiene nada que...
We just climbed up to this little hilltop, and all surrounding me is coca. This is very good coca?
Sí, esta es la semilla de coca. Esto, primero.
So what he's saying is that this is first-class coca. These are the little seeds. He took a couple seeds. He's saying that this mountain has good soil for growing coca, so he wanted some of the seeds. He's going to plant it. In a month, it'll start to sprout, and by 6 months, he'll have some coca. Here's the root of the problem. The government of Peru keeps trying to get local farmers to use substitution crops, grow, coffee, chocolate, anything except coca, which fuels the cocaine trade. So right here you see a coca plant next to a pineapple plant, but it perfectly illustrates the problem. They can get 3 to 5 times as much for this, not to mention multiple growing seasons. So if you're a poor coca farmer, what are you going to grow? How many hidden labs do you think are like this?
Varios, ¿no?
You can see it's turning into a paste-like substance. That's 100% pure cocaine right there.